joining us today for this DCS 2021 conference. This particular session is sponsored by DCS Gold sponsor, a company called U-Turn, who are the fastest growing platform in the field of transport by road. So thank you to them. We have three distinguished panelists today. I think originally there were four actually advertised, but there's three. I will just let them do their introductions, but the first speaker is going to be Amanda Malia. And after the three speakers, I will give a very brief update on the container manufacturing position in China, which I have some familiarity with. So let me hand over to Amanda Malia. Amanda, stage is yours.
Hi, good morning. So I'm Amanda Malia, and I'm Sales and Purchasing Director at Oceanbox Containers. It was founded in 2017, and we joined Exchange in 2018. Our core activity is one-way leasing, and Exchange has really made this possible for us. We are top users of the platform, and in 2019, we got an award for the most deals accepted during the Digital Container Summit in Hamburg. We are a small to medium-sized company, and our main focus is to provide end customers on the ground the containers that they need to purchase in the locations that they require globally. So whereas the main leasing companies' clients would be the NVOCCs, shipping lines, and freight forwarders, our client is the one who is actually purchasing the containers that they need somewhere around the world. The import and export imbalance has always been a headache for the shipping container industry. And of course, this generates a significant extra expense to rebalance the supply and the demand of shipping containers with empty reposition. So to help improve this imbalance situation, and to offer a more sustainable approach and even more of a eco-friendly approach, we only deliver the needed containers to the demand location against a pre-order. So we're not moving anything extra, we're not taking any extra space on the vessels, and we're not sending any units to where they are not needed in that place and in that time. So all our containers are pre-sold before they even leave the port of loading. This is our model. In my world, it seems simple, but obviously you need a lot of dedication to make it work. So what do we do? With the help of Exchange and the platform, we pair our port stretches with our users, which are freight forwarders by rail and sea, NVOCCs, and shipping lines. Most of the time, we manage to find someone to deliver to the location that we need. Sometimes we don't. So then we speak to Exchange team, and behind the scenes, they try to speak with the users who have already dropped in that location. Sometimes we manage, sometimes we don't, but it's not the first time that we actually cut the red tape on some remote locations. Various locations. I mean, the world is quite a big place now. Then we buy the containers in the port of loading, and we give the release to the users, most of the time free of charge. And this will be against a predetermined set of terms and conditions, such as 3 days to return the units, per diems after that, and a damage protection plan. We buy containers from suppliers worldwide in cargo-worthy condition. Leasing companies would lease you something in IICL condition, which most probably will be checked by the maintenance and repair teams. But we are buying equipment for one-way lease in cargo worthy, and they would be repaired and checked by the depots themselves. Now, most users think that they can just send a truck to collect units, but this approach really needs to be taken more seriously for one-way leasing to be more cost effective. The user of our units needs to, first of all, call the depot and make sure that they can go and collect those units. So many things can happen if you don't call the depot, and then we will have a lot of lost haulage charges, and that makes one-way leasing not cost effective anymore, both for the user and for us as the suppliers. Things that can go wrong could be anything. There could be congestion at the depot. It could be that the units are buried in the stack. It could also be that the units are not available because they were in area collected by someone else. It could be anything. It could be a storm or no lifting equipment. And it's the best thing to do is always to contact the depot before you send the truck. And the second thing that makes one-way leasing cost effective is to actually have the unit checked at the depot for cargo worthy condition before it leaves the depot. So if the hauler goes, picks up a unit and just leaves, he could be going out with a wrong type of unit or with a damaged unit. But if the hauler just takes 5-minute stops to check the container, check the size, sees that it's the right size, and just go inside, see that the floor is good, close the doors, see that there is no light coming in through the container, it's good, and the unit is ready to be on the way to our final client. So it can be used for one-way leasing, and it will all work out fine in that case. So we have made a policy that whoever uses our units needs to have them checked out. Although they're cargo worthy, a lot of things, as I said, can actually happen. So we really make it a point that our users take a bit of responsibility and check what they are collecting. There's one more benefit for one-way leasing, and it's that upon arrival of the unit in the port of discharge, no one really needs to think about where to store the empty units, because we would have already planned that. The client who is by this time eagerly waiting for the units to arrive would have already planned a space where to put these gigantic empty boxes. So there's no storage and no depot problems in one-way leasing. And it works both for us and for the person who is leasing the units on one way. And this model gives us an infinite playground of where we can deliver the units in a good, sustainable way, whilst always keeping the imbalance of supply and demand in mind. So.
Thank you, Amanda. That's I think that's very interesting. Let me just see if we have any questions at this stage for you. There's no open questions.
Too fast.
No, that was fine. I think it's very interesting, and you've highlighted a lot of issues, of course, that are very relevant to a lot of people who do this. I mean, obviously, regular leasing, the interchange event as the containers leave the depot is very formalized. As you say, if it's a lease box to a big shipping line, it's generally IICL conditions, so there's no argument. The cargo worthy standard, there are some attempts to formalize the cargo worthy standard, and it would be nice if depots actually adopted a common cargo worthy standard rather than just leaving it to chance, which clearly can be a significant cost and disruption problem for you.
And it also needs to come from the user, where they have to differentiate what they are leasing. If they're leasing an IICL unit from a leasing company, then they have more peace of mind that what they are going to collect is what they should be collecting. But when they're leasing a one-way unit, they need to keep in mind that this is a cargo-worthy unit and not necessarily an IICL standard. It's cargo-worthy, which in many countries, they call it a last trip unit. Like in France, they call it dernier voyage.
Yes, of course, and the standard of cargo worthy deals really with structural safety and wind and water tightness, of course. It doesn't deal with cosmetic issues, which may or may not be of interest to your clients. I guess that's something that's very much specific to each individual buyer.
Yes. It's one container that serves the purpose for a one-way move, and we're not interested as such in what the client is going to do with it when they receive it. They can be doing anything. They can be using it for export, but they can be chopping it up straight away.
And the platform, exchange platform, does it actually allow you to differentiate between different standards? Can you actually select different standards?
It does allow to load brand new, which will be first strip unit, IICL, cargo worthy. If it's IICL, we pointed that it's IICL, but most of the time we're using cargo worthy units. And that's a bit of a problem if they are not checked, you know, if then.
I mean, your description certainly of the process you go through to try and ensure that quality is maintained at the time of pickup, it does sound obviously, well, it's important. It's value that you're adding to the process and to the end users' acceptance. It's a way of controlling cost, of course. It is possible, I guess, that with cooperation you can get a more broad adoption of, say, a standard cargo with standard, rather than just people perhaps being rather flexible with the term cargo worthy, which I think is probably what the case is. But as I say, depot relationships that you've got, I think sounds pretty important.
It's a lot of team effort. It has to come from the responsibility needs to be shared between a lot of people. It needs to be first of all, in our case, we strongly suggest that the user send someone who can just go and check and make sure that what they're collecting is fit for cargo. If it's not, then there are a lot of possibilities that can be done when the unit is still in the depot. Like, let's say if it has a small hole, it can be fixed there and then. If it has something that cannot be fixed there and then we can replace the unit. But if you gate it out, you take it 3 hours away, and then you decide, oh, there's a missing piece of the floor. Then what do?
Yeah,
you know, so big problem. Yes.
I mean, these issues, of course, are problems for the container industry in general. You know, if you pick up a box from the depot, truck it into an inland location for cargo, and then find there's a damaged floorboard, this is obviously a big headache, even on newer boxes, of course. So
yes, we are trying to eliminate that.
Right. Okay. Somebody has commented in the chat section that connectivity seems to be a big issue. Is that really what you're also finding?
Connectivity?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what connectivity means in terms of, maybe it's the depot connectivity that's the issue there. But I hope that Andrew, who raised this comment, that we've actually covered some of that in this discussion. So.
Okay, because I'm not sure what they're referring to connectivity.
No, indeed, no, exactly. Good.
Maybe the connection.
Yeah, well, indeed. I maybe connected to the line. I think I can hear everybody clearly. So if some people are having problems with the connectivity, then I'm sorry for that. Maybe reconnect and see if you get a better connection. So Amanda, anything else from your side before we move on to the next speaker?
I can answer more questions if anyone has any further questions.
Yeah, it's a panel discussion, so if things come up, obviously anybody can contribute as we go forward.
On the whole, we have a very simple model, as I explained. It's
indeed sounds very good, actually. So thank you, Amanda, and we'll come back to you later. So perhaps I can move on to Dmitry Savitsky of FELB. Who I think will do a better introduction of what he does and what his company does.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for the introduction. Dear colleagues, dear attendees, good day to everybody. I will hold up my mic in the hand, and I think you will hear me pretty well. I will move on and share my screen, continue with our presentation that I have prepared. Me and my team prepared together for you all, so you may as well see and not hear me only. Okay, my name is Dimitri Savitsky, and I'm head of asset management of Far East Lumbridge Limited, a company whose core competence is transit of 40 high cube containers and general cargo in containers on the railway between China and Europe. We try to connect countries and nationalities through the railway as one physical connection that is already existing between us all since decades and hundreds of years, and is quite used among single countries, but we saw or our founders saw a great possibility to connect the countries on the existing way that was already there. Well, I will just continue, and our mission and vision. Our mission, as we are part of Russian Railway Group, one of the biggest country in the world, with one of the biggest railway roads in the world, we connect China and Europe through the Russia or Russian railway logistics related and interested companies and partners. Our vision is to connect as an operator and carrier through the railway countries and nationalities in terms of their business and mainly in business to business segment. Our services are mainly offered on the railway, and through the need and importance of green logistics, especially in the last years, we try to optimize and concentrate our future processes, business-related processes in operations, in accounting, throughout the vertical and horizontal corporational structure in terms of green logistics. We already made decision last year in 2020 and just continued it in 2021 that I will show you further in my presentation. But green logistics is our vision that is supported as well globally, and as well is an interest of many companies nowadays, our partners, our clients, who are really interested to move their cargo in greener way, or at least more sustainable today than yesterday. Our target, or one of our main targets, is performance and communication. We surely try to work with anybody who is interested in our main services that are related to our core competence, and can as well at least try to communicate it to us. We hope that we can share our services to the market and receive back at least some demand, because we hope that we are doing the right thing. If we can move on to our assets and what we own, we have at the moment 2,500, a little bit more than 2,500 40-foot high cubes. They are equipped with 400 GPS, where we try to offer our customers for visibility and transparency in terms of making unmaterial business a little bit more physical and material for them. They should feel it and as well see it, to know that their cargo is actually on the way, not only in the mine, but as well on the road or on the rail. We own 3 new high-tech reefer containers that have 800-liter diesel tank, and they can move up to 21 days uninterruptedly, fueled by diesel. And in this way, we are independent actually of gensets, and we don't always rely on plug-in and electricity uninterrupted supply. Until end of this year, 2021, we already closed agreements and will on hire 550 completely new, brand new built leasing containers with very different leasing options that we met with our different world-known leasing companies. Our empty depots, or our network, is shown on the right corner, on the right bottom corner. We have a depots and network in China as well in Europe. Our main European terminals of destination are shown there: Hamburg, Duisburg, Warsaw, Malashevich, and Milano as example. And in the opposite, in China, we are very actively working in Dalian, Shenyang, Beijing, Tianjin, in South Korea. Incheon is a very important field of segment of business for us. Qingdao, Shanghai, and of course, it would be unavoidable. It's Guangzhou and Shenzhen in south of China. The most important slide of my presentation is actually our performance here at Exchange. As we are doing quite well here, and if I may just introduce to you our performance overview. Thank you to Exchange for preparing together with my marketing team this slide, and that you put more or less just the good sides of our performance. Our pickup time. So actually, in the previous 12 months, we were able to make or to close 126 deals. We picked up 100% of containers from requests that we have accepted. Our return speed was on average 10 days before the 3 days ended. So we were 10 days earlier than days that we even agreed in our business deals with every partner and customer. We are committed to our supply. We released 100% of all containers from the accepted requests. So we always, we are keeping forward to moving on if we close the agreement. If on the left, in the bottom of the left corner, you may see a graph with total turnover in Exchange wallet. I was quite open to Exchange and told them just to show the figures. To make a statistic in the recent years for attendees and for the panel discussion to show our monetary value in Exchange, or like the value of business that we have done. If you just look on 2019 and 2020, you may see that these both years were not so quite fruitful for us. You may think, but actually they were. We have done a lot of business. We sub-rented and used many containers. But yet 2021 just outplayed both years together by doing quite the similar amounts of containers, or using and supplying same amounts of containers. We were able to reach, I think, triple profit of said businesses in our wallet. So we could triple our monetary value in our Exchange wallet. So maybe from this perspective, I could already outline that probably 2021 was a successful year for FLB at Exchange. But personally, who is the main user of Exchange, I need to be honest that I didn't make a lot of effort to bring these numbers as the best of 3 years. I would say the market regulated it for me. In the right corner, or in the bottom right corner, you can you may see our total containers transported on the Exchange as user and as supplier. As user, we already transported 1,700 containers through the different deals. We used 1,735 40 high cube boxes as user, and as supplier, we just by 118 containers less as supplied on the Exchange. So it quite balanced with seeing that we supplied just a little bit less than we used, but I would not be able to explain you why it's as balanced as you can see it. Maybe just because of our business relations and business activities this year, that we are able to supply and to use same amounts, but just in different places. So maybe in that way we can as well see that we can balance it. If we have overstock at some places and some understock and in other places, still we are able to somehow to balance it. Maybe the last slide of my presentation and projects and goals should show you and maybe just represent us as a company with with another exchange participants and attendees. Last year in the Digital Summit 2020, I had meetings with companies like People. People are a very, very motivated, dedicated, and quite already experienced company, and they try to change the market with their new invented and patented licensed innovation or container 2.0. A container that is by at least 600 kilo lighter than the usual 40 high cube container. A lot of advantages like really great for and sustainable, so future oriented, less weighted, smart. And yeah, there are a lot of advantages that it brings with it. And we actually already from 2020, we started our negotiations. And at the beginning of 2021, we already start to use the container 2.0. And until now, we already managed two international big trips from South China to Duisburg and Duisburg to Incheon in South Korea. And until now, I'm quite happy with this container. At the same summit, we met us with Globe Tracker, who quite was able to convince us that their devices, I will not go into details, but their technique, devices, and business relations to their suppliers that were located not only in Canada but as well in Australia were significant for making decision for using their devices. And so we set up our container park with 400 of their devices, but our capacities are another 2,000 containers. And so we are very open and welcome to any GPS device suppliers to talk with us, communicate to us. We're happy to see your offers and your possibilities. The last point is as well connected to Digital Summit. We were able to negotiate with one leasing supplier about a small, it's not 550, but it's small amount of containers that we were able to put on leasing. So yeah, thank you to Exchange, thank you to Digital Summit 2020 and 2021 already now for bringing and linking people together. We are happy to find new people. We are happy to find new business segments and cooperate with each other if our demand and supply and our interests can meet at least in the middle, or at least by exchange. Thank you very much. I think I'm already at the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Dimitri. That was very interesting. I hope the audience found that of interest too. I have one question. I don't see any on the Q&A yet. Do you see Exchange being used mostly on the eastbound leg of your journey or actually on the westbound leg?
Sorry, Mark, could you just repeat the first two words of your question?
Sorry, yes. So the Exchange, the use of Exchange, you're using it quite a bit for the containers. Are you finding this more that the one-way moves are on the eastbound direction or on the westbound direction?
It changed strongly at the big. So at the beginning of the year, most of our successful deals were done by sub-renting containers from Asia to Europe, and by the half of the year, I would say from June. Very strongly from June, we were not able to sub-rent no containers from Asia to Europe anymore, or to use to offer them for usage or allocations. But it changed completely to supply from eastbound, from Europe to China. So in eastbound direction. At the beginning of the year, our trade was stronger in westbound from China to Europe. And already from the middle of this year, 2021, we see significant increase of our business from Europe to China. So it changed like exactly by the half of the year.
And just without going into too much detail, are you seeing these boxes moving into inland locations when they're going back to China or Asia, or are they going to the main coastal locations?
It goes mainly, suppliers wishes to receive their containers mainly in port regions. There are, companies that offered to us equipment, they preferred mainly to receive them in main ports. Companies that didn't contacted us via exchange a lot of them prefer to receive containers in hinterland ports like Chengdu, Chongqing, and Xi'an. It strongly depends via which railway route, international railway corridor you are driving. If you are using the south corridor of New Silkway via Kazakhstan, you probably are going to return your containers in hinterland cities. If you are using another international railway corridors like via Mongolia or via Trans-Siberian Railroad, you probably are going to return containers mainly in portal cities of China.
Thank you, Dimitri. That's very interesting to hear. Okay, so let's obviously more questions for Dimitri. If you wish to submit them on the bottom of the screen. Let's now move on to Andrea Monti from Sogesi in Italy. Andrea, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the invite to this DCS 2021. I'm an old member of the platform exchange. I think that we applied for the first time in 2018 when it was only a few months that the platform was created. So I went through all the big changes that this platform has applied during the years and through the time. And I saw a lot of changes, of course, most of them positive. I saw the group of members grew up very quickly, especially in the last couple of years. And I can only be, happy and pleased to be an active member of this platform, especially for the advantages that they can provide to our activity. Well, let me spend a few words about my company, whose name is Sogesi. We are an Italian company that was founded in 1980, so it's been more than 40 years that we are on the market. We went through a lot of changes in the container industry. We saw the operation performed by piece of papers, and we switched to, in 2021, operation completely performed by digital devices. And of course, while I was listening to Mrs. Amanda and Mr. Dimitri, I really recognized a lot of issues that are actually vital and essential in our business as well. Sogesi was founded as a small depot company in Italy. It was based initially in Livorno. It was not a trader. It only offered depot services. And he was working for the main liners, the ones that you all already know today. Of course, the competition was aggressive on this side. So we decided to go through a fast evolution. We primarily got into the storage market. So we realized that the containers could be converted into different uses. And it was for us a good opportunity to offer reconverted reefer containers as cold storage spaces for pharmaceutical and food and beverage companies based in Italy. And this was the evolution that we went through during the 90s. And then we thought that our next evolution would be to become more international. That was the phase between 90s and 2000, where we hired some people that had a good experience in international lease and international trading. They joined our team, and of course, they helped us into this evolution, to this transformation from a local entity to a bigger international entity. Right now, we have our main offices in Italy, but we do have representative offices and the yards in Dubai and in the UK. In Italy, we own our own depots in Livorno, in Melzo, in Bologna, Milan, and of course, we have a wide network of subcontracted depots in other locations in Italy. Lately, we expanded also in many other countries, of course, through the assistance and the support of operations carried on by subcontracted depot services. And so we created a wide network and wide connections to perform better our operations. Right now, our turnover is above 25 million USD, and the turnover is equally divided between container lease and container trading. I was impressed about the explanation that Amanda gave about the one-way lease, because it has become a vital intermediate step to achieve performing trade all over the world. I can tell that she was really accurate into providing all the informations regarding, the, let's say, between brackets, to do that everyone should be aware of when is picking up containers at the containers depot. Containers shall be checked, of course. Containers shall be picked up within desirable intervals of times. And in order to avoid additional cost and additional problems and arguments, everyone shall stick to the agreement that were built upon the one-way agreement. As far as our business, again, we use the exchange primarily to set up one-way agreements. In this case, as confirmed by Amanda also, we only provide containers in cargo-worthy conditions. And that's, of course, a big issue, because cargo-worthy conditions shall be standard all over the world, but sometimes we have to face issues with users that would not recognize the condition of the containers as cargo-worthy. Well, in this case, we learned that we need to face this problem through joint surveys, through inspections, and we are ready with our operational team to provide all this kind of assistance that they may need to assess the cargo worthiness of these containers. So our team is, our operational team, let's say, is not only prepared to provide containers and get the operation smooth, but is also prepared 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, to assist the customers in case of problems, and to provide additional services like certification or inspection, or whatever they need, additional cleanings, additional services, in order to let the customers match their expectation. This is, I think this is a big plus that we have compared to other companies in the same industry, or in the same sector. As far as other services, I would say that our company is focused on other type of leases. We perform a lot of lease purchases and long-term lease, but also we want to leverage, I would say, the operations and the volumes of our customers through the solution that we called the sale and lease back. In this case, we will buy the equipment from our customers and we'll lease it back to the customers itself, and will provide adequate cash for their operations, cash that will be used to increase volumes or to buy additional assets. So this is a solution that we've been providing since 2 or 3 years, it has proved to be very effective and useful to our partners, and we experienced increasing volumes into this sort of solution. Other solutions can be the long-term lease. We call long-term lease from 3 to 8 or maybe 10 years, with or without the purchase option, and also finance leases that will end up with the ownership of the asset to the customer. As I said before, this is only this result in a choice that we made through the change that we noticed in the market with the, let's say, increase in the dimension of the vessels. We noticed that our customers needed to supply themselves with assets for their operations into limited regions and into different countries. And so to be able to assist these customers, we thought that the lease solutions would be most suitable for their needs, because they were able this way to support their volumes while saving cash for their future plans. Just a couple of minutes to show a couple of figures that we performed in 2020 in terms of trades. We achieved 7,000 TEUs sold worldwide during 2020, and it's a plus 15% over 2019. And we bought more than 6,000 TEUs containers, mainly in China, but also in the subcon and in the USA. We have more than 20 delivering countries, including Europe, China, subcontinent, Middle East, Africa, and South and North America. Regarding the lease business unit, main figures are 20,000 TEUs managed and 98% of the fleet utilization rate, and 150 new lease purchase contract performed in 2020, which accounts for a plus 25% over 2029. Regarding the assets, we are not focused only on ISO standard containers. We can provide assistance and service with special containers, especially for the trading activity, for the trading business units. But we also provide assistance over the supply of offshore containers, which are normally, addressed to the oil and gas industry. Our competitive advantages regards the support and the helpline, which is given 7 days over 7 per week and 24 hours a day, of course. And also we can manage specific requests such as certifications, such as open top transformation and conversion when the original open tops cannot be provided. We can discriminate with food grade, cargo worthy IICL conditions as far as, of course, the equipment is available, and we can also assist with transport and logistics. Regarding our, home country, Italy, I can only say that Melzo, which is one of our most important container depots, has experienced big growth comparing to the past years, and due to the development of the new Silk Road. At the moment, most of the leasing companies that we all know and small traders that are also active on the platform are getting our services in Melzo, Milan, which is the most important rail hub for connection to North Europe, Northeast Europe, and also for connection to south of Italy. In Italy, this is just a small parenthesis. In Italy, we owned a couple of workshop where we produced converted containers. Our container conversion business unit has been doing pretty well. We're talking about plus 50% compared to 2019 and 2018. And it's a business unit based on the design and the production of shelters or whatever it is derived by the modification of a container of normal refrigerated containers. I'm talking about workshop containers, laundry containers, containers bar, containers lab, everything that can be used for whatever form of control or whatever form of need the customers has to do. So just to end up quickly, our company has made a decision to become more diversified compared to the past, even though the main focus has remained on the trading and on the leasing side. And this was, of course, leveraged through the year, thanks to the membership in exchange.
Thank you, Andrea. Very comprehensive. I think at this stage, what I will do is I'll quickly just give you a couple of slides about the container manufacturing market. I have a lot of dealings with the container manufacturing market, certainly over the last 20 odd years, and I continue to be fairly closely involved with them on various projects that I do in the company that I run. But I will just share my screen and give you some brief information, and we can have some further discussion if there's still time after that. Okay, I hope everybody can see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so certainly there's been some discussion in the newspapers, perhaps in the US particularly, about capacity and whether there's capacity constraints in China deliberately, all sorts of stuff. I think, frankly, this is wishful thinking. We've had an extraordinary couple of years, obviously the pandemic last year causing demand to collapse for about a period of several months. And then, of course, the change in trade patterns, very dramatic change in trade patterns in the second half of last year and into this year, with a great increase in the production of consumer goods, where people were actually not able to go about their normal lives. They were buying stuff. But I think in the context of China and the factories, over the years, I mean, certainly when I started working with the container factories, you could work pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with 11-hour shifts, very brief breaks. Of course, there was a huge toll on the workforce. And in those days, there was a quite abundant supply of labor. That has now changed. China has much more modern, international kind of practices on working conditions, and there are limits on working hours, which I think we would all respect as being important. And so I mentioned that today, of course, there are challenges to source labor for container manufacturing. There is not an unending supply of young men, which is mainly who work in container factories, coming in from the countryside anymore to work in what is a very difficult and very hot, dirty environment in container factories. It is getting better in terms of the working environment. It's never going to be a luxurious job. And if you can sit in a factory producing iPhones, this is clearly a more desirable thing to do for a lot of young people. In any event, there is a limit on the number of people that will come into work. Anyway, the factories have been busy improving their efficiency with increased automation. And so this has actually enabled them to maintain a reasonable capacity. Now, if we look back over the last few years, certainly since 2015-16, we've seen an average annual output of only 2.5 million TEU. I'm being very approximate, and these are roughly the figures that come into the shipping arena. There are quite a few containers built for, say, China domestic railways, which I don't normally include in my own figures. So we've seen that capacity around 2 to 2.5 million in 2019 and 2020. Only 2.2 million TEU actually were produced roughly in those years coming into the shipping sector. So you can see the factories are working well below peaks that they have in a great more distant history. And I think my own view, and Martin Dixon's going to give a presentation later, he may have slightly different figures, but my own view is that the world container fleet actually shrank in 2020 by around 0.5%. A lot of boxes being sold, which were surplus to requirements, and we'd had obviously more the same level of production as we had in the previous year. So it doesn't really surprise me to suddenly see a very strong shortage of containers developing in 2021. In 2021, I think by the end of the year, 57% of new containers will be from the main leasing companies, these the large global leasing companies. That is a trend that we will see change in the coming years, because shipping lines becoming more profitable probably tend to buy a greater share of their own containers. But that's been the trend this year. So year to date, the end of September, 4.2 million TEU have been produced by the factories, which is already a record for a year. The previous record, I think, back in 2008 or 2007, actually, beg your pardon, where we had about 4 million TEU produced. So it's taken a long time to break that, but it's already happened by the end of September. And 3.8 million of those have gone direct to shipping lines or leasing companies. So the balance of those probably going into some of the domestic applications in China. Let's say that the detail isn't really important, it's the headline figures. And so the projected total for the full year is 5 million TEU, and I suspect it may even exceed that, which is by far the largest year on record. Another very interesting characteristic of this year, which may not be so good for the one-way business, in the sense that 20-foots are obviously more in demand, certainly older 20-foots are in demand in global locations for storage, etc., is that 92% of the TEU production is 40-foot high cube this year, which is unprecedented to see such a strong bias to 40-foot high cube. 11 times as many high cubes have been built as 20-foots, for example. So this is really because the type of cargo that's moving has a lower bulk density, and therefore 40 high cubes are preferable. Also, it has enabled the factories to be more efficient in producing containers. They can produce a higher volume of TEUs, if you like, by sticking to one type. And a lot of factories will not build 20-foots this year. Maybe some of the smaller factories are still doing so. For the 20-foot production, I estimate somewhere around 210,000 units for the year, which is a really small quantity of 20-foots produced this year. I suspect, we may see that change in the coming years if the cargo types rebalance. 40-foot high cube production, roughly 2.3 million units, 4.6 million TEU for the year. I mean, these are really extraordinary figures, but I think there'll be more color in Martin Dixon's keynote presentation in about an hour and a half's time. And so this is a graph just showing you the trend over the last 20 years, 21 years of container production. You can see that big peak in 2007, and really nothing quite approaching it, maybe 2018, a little bit closer to it. And then we have this extraordinary peak in 2021. And I've actually dared to predict that in 2022, we'll see that moderate back to slightly more, around 3 million TEU level, which I think will be reasonable in terms of the supply-demand balances. We will have got over that shortage. I think we'll start to see the boxes that have been stuck because of logistical challenges in ports, with the lack of transport because of the pandemic lockdowns, etc. That will start to ease as we come into next year. But as I say, very difficult to make predictions more than a few months ahead in this business. I've been in it long enough to know that the graph will probably look very different to that 12 months from now. So that's what I have. Just to, I'll unshare this.
Can I point something out, Mark?
Yes.
You see 2009, how low the production was? That was yes. the crunch.
Financial crisis, yeah.
The financial crisis. Those boxes would have been sold last year and this year as cargo worthy. Mm-hmm.
Indeed, yeah, and they're therefore in theory a shortage of boxes.
Another reason, it wasn't just COVID, it's just 2009.
Yeah, no, indeed, and actually quite a lot of boxes got sold last year. I think well over 2 million TEU was sold last year, as I understand. And so that will obviously have had an impact on the global fleet and availability.
Exactly.
So just to wrap up this session, thank you for all the contributions. I think that Dimitri did mention the Container 2.0, which is produced by the People organization, which I think is a very interesting development. Whether it becomes a mainstream container in the future obviously remains to be seen, but any box that saves 600 kilo in tear weight is obviously very impressive. So we wish them luck in that endeavor. And I'm glad that it's making a difference, Dimitri, for your operation. Weight is obviously always important in any transportation. And so that's a very interesting development. It is, I think, only a 40 high cube at this stage. Maybe they do make 20 foots as well, but we'll have to see how that goes in the future. From my perspective, certainly, I've learned a lot about your businesses and how they interact with Exchange and how useful Exchange is in being able to distribute boxes efficiently around the world. And I think that's a very positive thing. So I certainly find this session for me has been very useful. I hope the audience have also found that. Any final questions from anyone, any points that any of the panel would like to make before we close?
I'm good.
You want to make a comment, Amanda?
No.
Oh, you're done. Okay. So just to say that at 12 o'clock UK time, 1 o'clock CET European time, we have Martin Dixon of Drury, who's a well-known presenter of the very large resources on the data front that Drury maintain, which I think will be very interesting perspectives on the global container market. So we look forward to seeing some of you in an hour and a half's time. Thank you again to the panel, and thank you for the audience for attending today. And thank you to our sponsor again, U-Turn, for sponsoring this event.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.